Do you not feel entirely human? Well, my friend, I'm Hannah and I help people own their powers no matter how awkward, out of place, broken, or weird you may feel. And in this video, we're gonna talk about Otherkin. Maybe you've heard the term, maybe you haven't. I'm gonna go briefly into what that entails and 7 signs that you are one. So first off, to just define in brief terms what Otherkin is. It means that you're not entirely human, that you may feel out of place here, that you are not exactly from this planet originally. You are likely from a different dimension. You could be a different species. You could be dragonkin, as probably if you're watching the channel you are, or elfkin, or fictionkin even, which could mean that you are a human in another reality, but it's not from this one originally. Maybe even like the way this reality looks just feels really off to you. And just a caveat, this is still a very unexplored topic that we're kind of pioneering in. And what I speak from is just personal experience and the channel downloads I get from my higher self and guides, and from the guides and higher selves of my clients and the like. So take what resonates, leave the rest. The number one sign for Otherkin, I feel, is just being out of place, just feeling so awkward on this planet as a human in this body. Like, you probably always feel like you're kind of faking it around your peers just growing up and stuff. Like you probably are very observant and you try to observe what others are doing and mimic that because you don't innately know what to do. And this can lead to sense of loneliness, feeling isolated, which in turn can lead to depression. So that is another, I guess, sub-sign of this category, is just being depressed, being a loner, feeling alone, like no one really understands you. So number 2, going off of that, there's just this intense longingness to go home, feeling like Earth, this planet, this reality is not your home. And you may just constantly desire for something more, something different. You may have this longing feeling when you engage in, let's say, like fiction. For me, always playing video games and stuff, I would just feel like it felt so much better in that world. It just felt so much more natural to be in some of those video game worlds than it did to be here. Whenever I came back here, it just felt kind of wrong. That's the best way I can describe it. So that being said, number 3 is you may have a tendency for escapism, particularly for losing yourself in fantasy and fictional worlds. And specifically what type of worlds those are going to depend on your kin type. So myself, I identify as dragonkin and elfkin. And so as such, I really love like medieval fantasy stuff. It gets me every time. And I love to play as non-human characters whenever possible. I like to play as dragon-like characters or elf characters if I can. Number 4 is that you can channel. Now, you may not realize this at first. I myself, it took me many years to realize it. And if you want to learn more about my story of how I came to that realization, you can check the description below. I did a podcast episode where I go into my origin story, if you will, on how I learned to trust my channeling ability. But basically, this sign ties in with the later sign that has to do with your mission as Otherkin, why you are here on this planet at this time in this human body. And essentially, it comes down to being able to communicate still with those from your world, those of your type, like your species. You're able to still have that channel open. You don't have to work toward it, really. You always are kind of in communication with the other versions of you, with your family and other lives, things like this. And if you're wondering like what even channeling is, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. I've done a couple videos on that. You can check out my playlist, Channeling 101. So 5, kind of related to the channeling, is that you are very creative. Creativities always come really naturally to you, and you can easily tap into flow states whenever you're doing something creative, whether that's drawing, painting, singing, playing music, writing, whatever it is. There is at least one and probably many different avenues that you like to use to express your creativity. And perhaps as an adult, maybe you've lost the time to do these things, and it just makes you feel that much more disconnected if you're not engaging in creativity. So 6, and this is a very important one for Otherkin specifically, is that you have sort of body dysmorphia, where your body just feels wrong. Like being human, it just feels wrong. And you might just miss having like limbs that you had as like another being. You might feel like phantom limbs, like for dragonkin, like phantom wings or a tail, something like that. You may have the tendency in the nerd community, right, in the furry community, to like you want to wear like a furry suit or something to more accurately represent who you really are, or just wearing like ears or a tail or something like that. It just feels more natural. And as a result, going off of this, like kind of a dark aspect of this is that it can lead to feelings of self-loathing and self-hatred and beating up on yourself because your body doesn't exactly match what feels like the purest expression of you. But it's okay, because sign number 7, and this is very important, is that you've always felt that you have a mission. And that's because, my friend, you do. There is a reason why you chose to incarnate as a human on this planet at this time. So I see a lot of, again, escapism in the starseed community, in the Otherkin community, where we just want to like hate on Earth and being here and stuff. But there's a reason we came here, or we wouldn't be here. It's not like a punishment or anything like that. It was a choice on some soul level. As much as you may regret that choice right now, it was still a choice that you made. And basically it comes down to our mission is to anchor feelings of unity and unconditional love on the planet. Essentially, we are diplomats. And just as like a diplomat here on Earth is maybe someone from a specific country that's sent to another country to kind of work on the relations between those two countries, be a humble representative. It's the same for Otherkin. We're meant to bridge the gaps between these different worlds, these different realities, these different species, breaking down, busting through the walls that say we all have to be the same, we all have to be alike to be able to really understand each other and get along and love each other. So maybe that sounds super like kumbaya hippie about it, but that's what it comes down to, honestly, is Earth right now is going through a massive shift. If you were not aware, we're shifting from the 3rd dimension to the 5th and above. And as we lift the frequency of the planet, we're going to start becoming more and more aware of these different species, these different realities. It's going to become more fluid and more easy for us to move between these dimensions and communicate with beings from these dimensions. And as such, you've been implanted as a sort of sleeper agent to make this an easier transition. So the topic of Otherkin, it's really quite new, actually. It's 30 years old or so. And more people are going to identify with this. More and more, like you'll see probably the younger the generations, the more people in that generation are going to identify as Otherkin. Because just like you say with the indigo children, the crystal children, the rainbow children and stuff, there's a mass mission happening right now, and there's more and more sleeper agents being implanted, so it's easier to anchor these outside frequencies. Essentially, what it boils down to is Earth and humans are on this trajectory where they don't really have any outside sources to compare things to. They're just used to doing things the way they've always been done. And so they need people like us that aren't exactly from here, that see things a little differently, to just throw a monkey wrench in the way things have always been done, to open their minds, to expand their consciousness, And the same goes for Otherkin. It's learning to accept all beings, no matter whether it feels familiar, no matter whether it makes sense. Because I don't know, myself personally, a lot of times I just look at like human behavior and things like that and just, I'm like, what? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why do people do this? But that's part of the mission, is learning to accept everyone just as they are, and to accept yourself just as you are, and to know that though your dominant soul may be that of a different being, like an animal or mythical creature, a fictional character, something like that, the fact remains that you are human right now in this reality on this physical plane. You chose that for a reason. So it's time to accept that about yourself and integrate that and love yourself, and know that in doing so, you don't even have to go talking, proselytizing, I can't even say that word, across the world about this stuff. Just in having that inner integration happen, in finding love and unity within yourself, you're completing your mission. So congratulations, my friends. I know it's not always easy, but you're doing an amazing job. And so I just want you to take a moment to stop and congratulate yourself if this is resonating and you feel like you are Otherkin. So that is all I have. And if you like this topic, you'd like to learn more, let me know in the comments. Any questions you may have, I can definitely do more videos on it. If you think you may be dragonkin specifically, I highly recommend checking out my free meditation here on YouTube, which I'll try to link. And that actually allows you to visit the dragon realm and experience being a dragon. So you can try that on for size and be like, oh, does this feel natural? Does this feel like home to me? Because if so, likely you're a dragonkin. So as always, my friends, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. And if you got some sort of value out of this video, I would super appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, and then hit that notification bell to be notified when I post videos, because I kind of have a bit of an erratic schedule. I will love you forever, and the dragons will love you forever. If you could do this one thing for us, kind of spreading the word about these topics, because it is very niche right now. It's not really out there, and it helps to just be vocal about it, to be open to open discussions, even if there is dissent about what Otherkin entails, to just express and share your own experiences and to listen to others. So with that being said, thank you again, my friends, and until next time, stay powerful.